NBA players show up, perform their duties, and then leave. Sophie Cunningham is another. A woman who entered the most talked-about women's basketball team, started throwing people to the ground right away, went viral overnight, and then sat down to reveal every secret she had been keeping about and what it's really like to play with the world's most divisive player. Not only was what she said unexpected, but it also totally disproved the narrative that the majority of people had previously come to believe. You must return to January 31st, 2025, in order to comprehend the significance of any of this. The day that altered in a way that Sophie Cunningham most likely never anticipated. She had worked hard for the Phoenix Mercury for 6 seasons, earning a reputation as a strong, dependable guard who could shoot the lights out and had no fear. Then it was revealed that she had been traded to the Indiana Fever. Not just any team. The Indiana Fever, home to the most scrutinized athlete in women's sports, Caitlin Clark, is surrounded by more cameras, controversy, and national attention than any WNBA club in history. Additionally, the trade was historic. The league was rocked by a huge 10-team mega-agreement. Cunningham was not introduced to her new world in a kind manner. She was abandoned in the midst of a storm, and what transpired next disclosed every aspect of her true nature. This is something that hardly nobody discusses. Cunningham had a difficult beginning in Indiana. Her debut was postponed until May 22 due to an ankle injury she sustained during the preseason. A week later, she sustained another ankle injury that kept her out of action for an additional 2 weeks. She was fighting her body and trying to establish her rhythm while playing for a new city, a new coach, a new system, and new teammates. She had difficulties during those initial weeks. There was a lack of chemistry. There was no momentum. The likelihood that this trade would succeed at all was seriously questioned. However, something clicked right before the All-Star break. After being added to the starting lineup, Cunningham not only found her rhythm but also took off. She averaged 11.2 points and shot more than 51% from the field in 13 games as a starter. During that time, she was possibly the most productive player on the team. Their enforcer had been located by the Fever, and she was only beginning. And nothing in the 2025 WNBA season elicited a more unvarnished response than what transpired on June 17. The Connecticut Sun were being hosted by the Fever, and the entire game had been violent. During the third quarter, Sun guard J.C. Caitlin Clark was stabbed in the eye by Sheldon. It was the type of play that usually results in a free throw and a shrug. Sophie Cunningham, however, was not shrugging. A quarter later, in front of the entire crowd, she seized Sheldon and dragged her to the ground. Immediately ejected, the moment was completely lost. Overnight, social media collapsed. In a matter of hours, Cunningham amassed hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. Her TikTok following increased from 300,000 to more than 1.2 million. Almost immediately, she became well known outside of basketball. She was straightforward when she finally spoke about it in the media. She also acknowledged that the league had penalized her about $900. "I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do." She also stated that she had no regrets at all. It was more than just a video that went viral. Sophie Cunningham's entire public persona was altered at that same moment. What Cunningham disclosed soon after on her brand new podcast, Show Me Something, which she started with her childhood friend and reality TV star West Wilson, made the consequences from that dispute much more intriguing. She didn't hesitate. She acknowledged something that had been the subject of months' worth of rumors. The previous year, while she was still with the Phoenix Mercury, there were actual discussions on how to deal with Caitlin Clark during her rookie season in a locker room. Many individuals had suspicions that she validated, but no one wanted to voice them. According to Cunningham, players in the league were specifically targeting Clark in order to convey a message and demonstrate to her what the W truly stands for. She claimed to have a partial understanding of it. Rookies are handled like that. However, it had gone much too far with regard to Clark in particular. After witnessing it as a member of her team, Cunningham said, "I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much. I'm over it. And if I think it's too much, it's probably too much." Her statements resonated differently because she had really been in those rooms. It wasn't a popular opinion. This was an admission. Fans couldn't get enough of Cunningham's constant revelations on the podcast, which turned into a platform for music. She confronted those who doubted Caitlin Clark's influence on the league in one episode. She didn't speak carefully. She didn't use hedging. If you don't think Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA, or if you think the league wouldn't be where it is now without her, you're just plain incorrect, she stated, and this is as close to her words as possible. She clarified that she wasn't disparaging other league players. Everyone was respected by her. However, she found it incomprehensible that Clark's contribution to the evolution of women's basketball was being denied. And it was impossible to ignore the bluntness with which she stated it. Hearing it said directly by a seasoned insider held significant weight for a league that has been engaged in a continuing, complex internal debate regarding Clark's job and reception. And the response from the internet was precisely what you would anticipate. The video became viral once more. Then came the moment that completely changed the story's tone. Sophie Cunningham revealed a whole different side of herself away from the altercations, podcasts, and viral events. When she volunteered to serve food to local families at the annual Aaron Nesmith charity dinner in November, she was fully mic'd up and her statements were captured on camera. "This is what we're here for. We're here for you," she added, turning to face a packed crowd. "This is the part that struck a chord." She didn't have a contract. Her one-year contract with the Fever had already run out. She wasn't required to be there. She was not compensated. She simply arrived, rolled up her sleeves, and began serving. Fans of Fever went crazy. The moment's video went viral as quickly as the J.C. Sheldon battles. The team was urged to sign her for life by comment after comment. Even those who had never watched a WNBA game began to pay attention. This was the other half of Sophie Cunningham, a farm girl from Columbia, Missouri, who attributes all of her identity to a hard-working and devout upbringing. She then began discussing Caitlin Clark's off-court activities. And nearly everyone was taken aback by what she said. People had created the impression that Clark was virtually untouchable, a calm, polished superstar athlete who moves effortlessly through life. Cunningham totally destroyed that perception. She was asked about her favorite Clark anecdote during an appearance on the Like a Farmer podcast. Her response was so candid that it seemed as though she was revealing a secret. She claimed that Clark is just a regular person who genuinely enjoys basketball. Then she referred to her as a big old dork and called her. "You don't know what to expect when you first meet someone who has so much attention following them around," she remarked. "You get ready." Instead, she discovered someone who was genuine, modest, and utterly silly. She claimed to adore Clark's entire aura and to be the biggest geek you'll ever meet. That description seemed to be the most human thing someone had ever said about Clark to millions of people who only see her through press conferences, endorsement deals, and highlights. The two of them's relationship off the court developed into its own narrative. Cunningham responded without hesitation, 1,000%, when asked which teammate she would least trust to manage her social media accounts, Caitlin Clark. Because Cunningham affectionately described Clark as a starter. This means that she would initiate drama. She would publish something and observe the mayhem. This was exactly in line with how these two communicate on social media. Their fan bases enjoy their frequent light-hearted jabs, inside jokes, and reciprocal trolling. Joking that they were Indiana Fever mermaids on their way to a game, Cunningham tweeted a video of himself and colleague Lexi Hull in swimsuit in August as a recruitment drive for bikini sponsors. Eventually, Cunningham's podcast also became aware of Clark. By the standards of these two's public communication, the Show Me Something account's response to a fan inquiring about a Clark appearance was simply soon. Beneath all of this enjoyment, however, was a season that went horribly wrong. By August, the Fever had become an almost unbelievable injury disaster. Due to a quad strain, bone bruise, and groin injury, Caitlin Clark only participated in 13 games throughout the season. Cunningham and Clark were among the 5 players that were ultimately declared out for the season. The crew was so short-staffed at one point that was eligible for an emergency hardship exception. Before Connecticut Sun guard Brianne January stumbled into Cunningham's leg on August 17 and tore her MCL, she had been playing. After that, surgery was performed. The season is over. Before the playoffs even began, the woman who had battled her way into a starting position averaged over 11 points per game as a starter and grown to be one of the team's most cherished presences was gone. From the bench, she watched as the eventual champion Las Vegas Aces were forced to play 5 games in the semifinals by a completely destroyed Fever team. That team's tenacity was astounding. However, Cunningham must have found it painful to watch everything happen without her. The post-season events were nearly as fascinating as the season itself. Cunningham's one-year, $100,000 contract expired, making her an unrestricted free agent in a league where nothing was certain. The Players Association and the WNBA have reached a deadlock in their CBA negotiations. Furthermore, no one knew when free agency would formally commence or what the wage structure will be for the upcoming season. She joined with Project B, a brand-new international 5-on-5 touring league that promised her more than $2 million a year, roughly 8 times the top WNBA wage at the time. Additionally, she started to expand her media presence in a way that demonstrated her ability to think beyond basketball. The sponsorship agreements, the podcast, and the social media brand, she was making a full-fledged public career out of the notoriety she had gained during a single season in Indiana. She continued to express her desire to return to the Fever throughout it all. She desired to play with Clark once more. In the middle of March 2026, the CBA was finally resolved. Oh, and her future in Indianapolis was finally within grasp when free agency opened. The figures by the end of 2025 revealed a narrative that no one could have predicted at the beginning of the year. Google's annual year in search rankings plummeted, and Sophie Cunningham placed at number 7 on the most searched athletes in the United States. There was no mention of Caitlin Clark, who had occupied the same position in 2024. In a sense, Cunningham had replaced her. When someone brought this up on her podcast, she responded in the same straightforward, non-performative manner that she does to nearly everything. She claimed that she was unsure of how to feel about it. She instantly attempted to explain Clark's absence, pointing out that Clark had only played 13 games this season, but she also said that it was kind of cool to be the only woman in the top 10. She wasn't bragging. She wasn't focusing on herself. Her teammate was on her mind. More than anything she said over the year, that response revealed Sophie Cunningham's true nature off-camera. And this is the current state of. If the new CBA holds together, the 2026 WNBA season is scheduled to begin on May 8th. After leading Team USA in every significant statistical category and winning the MVP title at the FIBA Women's World Cup qualification competition, Caitlin Clark is in perfect health. The Fever are getting ready for what should be their healthiest and most formidable roster in team history. And Sophie Cunningham, the woman who arrived in Indianapolis as a trade piece, turned into an enforcer, went viral, became a fan favorite in music, suffered an injury, created a media empire while recovering, and never stopped speaking her truth, is waiting to find out if she gets to return